I'm Diane King Hall alongside Tom White in our Chicago studio. Time now for our Cash Tag segment. We are taking a look at Etsy today. For that, we want to bring in our next guest. We've got Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio, joining us for a breakdown of how Etsy looks across the space that it operates in. Earlier, we were talking about, and you've probably seen this headline today, Andy, of PayPal joining up with ChatGPT, but Etsy's already been there. So tell us what the landscape looks like based on your most recent sentiment data.
Well, Etsy stock's up over 80% since April. Investors have kind of already bet on the agentic commerce impacting this company. I think they're right on that, but the fundamentals that we're seeing haven't really improved to the level I think Wall Street might be expecting. Buyer counts are down, spend per user, total transaction volume, all of that's down. So when we look at the space overall, just like we talked about yesterday with PayPal, enormous total addressable market that looks to be accelerating in a big way when it comes to agentic commerce. And so when we look at the top sites in terms of referrals from AI engines, Etsy's right up there, just behind Amazon and Walmart. So they're doing a good job of attracting those, agent views and visits. The problem for us in terms of Etsy, though, is that the actual consumer behavior, if we look at the visits, the amount of people visiting Etsy's site, LikeFolio data shows that those visits are down 3% year over year, while Amazon and eBay are inching higher, and Shopify absolutely exploding to the upside. And so when we think about this story as a whole, yes, Etsy has a good position in terms of agentic commerce, but simultaneously it seems to be losing its edge with real people and real consumers. And like it or not, that's still who's driving the top line for these companies. And so Etsy definitely losing out. Shopify dominating seems to be the story of the day, but there's reason for hope. We just think Wall Street's gotten ahead of itself with the stock price here.
Yeah, Andy, stock is up about 85% from those lows that we saw in April. But this goes back to that story. Have you guys seen this across your data? Is that, hey, you can announce any partnership you want, but it doesn't mean that people are going to be clicking and buying through based on what Etsy is, which is a specialty retailer, right, Andy? And, Walmart's doing well, Amazon's doing well, Target's improving a little bit, but they're not great. Are you guys seeing any data, inside data, that Etsy's just not cutting it, especially going into the holiday shopping season where maybe they have the most, portion of the revenue throughout the fiscal year, but this is just going to be a specialty retailer, and that doesn't equate to creating partnerships that are going to monetize their business, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you said it best. You can announce a lot of partnerships, but what are real people doing? And real people are preferring to buy from the stores in the Shopify network. They're preferring to buy from Amazon and even eBay in terms of growth over Etsy. I think Etsy is a phenomenal company. It's one we've watched since it first launched, actually, as a venture-backed company. It's been an incredible ride. I think they're very good at building community, and and the things that they do very well. Will they be able to transition into agentic commerce? Probably will benefit from that somewhat, but ultimately it comes down to, are you making your customers happy, and are you bringing more customers into your ecosystem? So far at LikeFolio, from our data perspective, we're not seeing that happen. So while we respect Etsy as a phenomenal company, we don't see the growth happening, the grassroots growth happening that Wall Street seems to be pricing in here.
And is that what needs to happen for Etsy because of the type of platform it is? I mean, it's supposed to be this, kind of unique place. I've been on there before when I was looking for something specific, but it's not a site I regularly go to. It seems like it's, yes, there are some things that you could, look for, say, in bulk there, but it's not a Walmart, it's not an Amazon. It's got quirky stuff on there. And at the same time, they were also, talking about how they would mitigate any tariff risk more for, it seems like, the sellers that are on their platform who would have some exposure to some of their products from China. So is that I guess My question is, has it moved away from its original identity, and is that okay now, given how the shares have performed?
Well, they're in a tough spot because I think their original identity was extremely cool, and it got them from zero to public company that is very valuable and an incredible success story. But at the same time, Wall Street expects growth at all costs at all times. And how big can you grow what is essentially, a niche kind of flea market, yard sale, peer-to-peer type of commerce company? How big can you scale that? What is really the total addressable market for that? I think Etsy just continues to kind of bump up against that ceiling. And in order to break through it, they're going to have to decide, do we change who we are? And do we risk that loyal customer base that we've built, that loyal seller base that we've built? Or do we stick with who we are, keep telling our story, and try to invite the younger generation to participate at greater rates than you and I do? I think it's probably the second. I hope it is. I think that's their best chance at long-term success, but it won't be at skyrocketing growth rates that Wall Street tends to expect.
Yeah, and Andy, just wanted to get your earnings score because they've got FX headwinds, they've got tariff headwinds at this point, so that's definitely going to weigh on them. What's your score going into this report?
Yeah, we're pretty neutral. I think that the company's doing some really good things. I think that they'll have a positive message for the market looking forward. The stock's just run up a little too high here to get super involved here. This is what I'd like to buy on significant pullbacks.
Good stuff. Great call also on the insight that you gave us for PayPal yesterday. Definitely you can see how the performance lined up today with that. That's Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. Will be on the lookout for those earnings from Etsy. All right, before we get to the trading perspective,